Okay, so I can't think of any better topic to start off understanding tech support than the thing that people tend to despise. And if I had to openly admit it, before I did technical support, I didn't quite understand it, and it did somewhat annoy me. And that is why do I always have to give all this information when I'm calling in? Why do I have to say my password again? Why do they need my name again? Why do I have to, put forth all this effort, if you want to call it that, to getting helped? And I have one, maybe two prime examples that happened to me personally, and I couldn't even think of a better way to put more emphasis on the reason why we do this. So you need to understand the system first of how this works. So you call in, and there are different automated systems that are segmenting the types of calls that are happening. Is it annoying? Yes. Everybody knows it's annoying, but it has to be done. It's no different than in the medical field when the doctor needs to have certain paperwork and reports done. It is annoying. And people will make these statements and distinctions of, I'm losing my arm, why do I have to fill this out? And, all this kind of stuff. Well, they do that because perhaps you're losing your arm over something that's very basic, but it's not obvious. The symptoms aren't obvious. Sometimes people come in and they can't really describe what's happening to them. Sometimes they can only describe it on simple terms. Maybe it's a child that's trying to describe to you how he's feeling. So the doctor needs, critical, basic, straightforward information. What are you allergic to? What is your temperature? Where are you from? What is your ethnicity? And I always like to highlight the ethnicity part because people always want to abandon that, and especially in this culture now. Even if you're mixed race, they need to know that because they need to know where certain aspects of your genetics come from to fully understand what in the world's happening to you. Why are you passing out for no reason? Has this happened before? Did this happen to your parents? So imagine you go to the hospital and you go in there, I'm itching, And the doctors, they're like, okay, what happened? And like, I don't know, I'm itching, just get a doctor. And then they're like, okay, all the 2,000 people in here, just stop what you're doing. We got to help this one guy. And they rush you back there to the doctor who's giving a heart transplant. And then, think about it. He comes in there, okay, I stopped the whole world for you. I know you're itching, so what's going on? Then you're like, I'm itching. Okay, sir, what did you do? I don't know. Okay, so you got to tell me something here so I can help you out. I don't know, I was jumping up and down and I started itching. You were jumping up and down. What were you doing before you jumped? I don't know, just fix it. And of course, if you have somewhat of a decent IQ, you can kind of simulate in your mind the ridiculousness of how far along this is going to go. Meanwhile, his intestines could be oozing out a particular enzyme or whatever. I'm not a doctor, but oozing out something that's causing him to itch. It could be a very rare condition. So the doctor says, I don't know, we don't know what he's itching for, so let's just give him some type of antibiotic or some type of antihistamine to stop it, when that's not what's making him itch. You see? And so they're going to keep going through this trial and error. Meanwhile, this guy's getting worse. He could die. And all because this guy didn't want to tell him. There are many cases like that when it comes to sexual practices, basically, where people go out and cheat on their wives or husbands and they get a disease and they're like, I don't know, I'm just itching down there. And the doctor's like, okay, what did you do differently? When did this happen? What time of day did this happen? Yada, yada, yada. They're gathering information, gathering intel so they can know how to correctly assess the situation. This is why you have to go through all those checks when you call into a technical center, or any center for that matter. It's not really that alien to anything else. And so, yes, we need your first and last name. I know it's going to take so much more energy. I know you're in a rush because you're the only person that's in a rush in the whole world. I know you have, yeah, and I can make that's going to be a whole other podcast talking about the importance of whatever variable in your life in comparison to everybody else. And that I need to find something to blame, so I'm going to blame you. That's a whole nother video. That's a whole nother podcast. But we get that for so many reasons, one of them being your own security. And I find this very funny doing technical support. And I do it for a cellular company. I'm not going to give any names because it's unnecessary, because they all do the same thing, basically. But people will call in, and sometimes they'll have to enter in or say the issue more than once, and they just cop a childlike attitude, like, do I really have to say all that again? Do I have to give my password? Yes, you do. Yes. And you want to know why? I have the perfect example. A man called in. I'm not going to tell you, the relationship dynamics and everything. A man called in one day. He pulled a quick social engineering trick on me. If you haven't read Social Engineering by Kevin Mitnick, you might want to look into it. He probably has a YouTube video up. Has to do with hacking, the origins of it, what he would do to get access to codes and people's information. So this man came in calling, panicking. My wife. He didn't even start off with his wife. She lost her phone. My wife. I can't find it. What can you guys do for me? Now this guy's interrupting me. I didn't get to do my greeting. Try to be nice to him. People, and that's a funny thing. People get annoyed by the greeting, but if you don't do it, they'll be the first person to tell you the customer service is horrible. Okay, well then, what do you want? Do you want me to give you a greeting? Or do you not want me to give you a greeting? No, just fix my problem. Well, fine. I'm just going to be standoffish and, be like whatever and not even care about how I'm presenting the information for you. Do you understand that I have to give you all these technical details and still smile at the same time? It's not easy, even though the other video or other podcast I'll be making is about people who always say, I think my child can do this. Oh, you really? Well, we'll talk about that later. So he's just going off and I can't find it. What can you do? So I'm going through all these different things trying to find this chick's phone. I'm like, man, I don't know what's going on. You're telling me it's on GPS. And I asked him, now, case in point. Point number one, be aware that when he called in, the IVR, what we call it, popped up, and everything was already filled out. So somehow he made it through the system by giving the Social Security, the first and last name, and he was able to get access to the account. So when it came to me, it was unnecessary for me to go ahead and ask those questions, just to be sure. So I'm troubleshooting, and the whole time it's like, man, you said it was on. You just lost it 5 minutes ago. And he said, I called multiple times, said, you know what? I was about to give up, but I said, what the heck? Let me try calling the phone and see if anybody picks up. I call the phone. This lady answers the phone. It was maybe 2 rings. And she says, hello. I said, hey, this is, so-and-so from so-and-so. And, I'm sorry. And then I asked her, I was like, wait a minute. I was like, what is your name? And she gives me her name. I'm like, oh, okay, so you found your phone. And she was like, what? I'm like, oh, you found your phone. And she said, no, my phone has always been here. I'm sorry, you said, and I could tell this was a black lady because how her dialect was. It wasn't, ghetto or anything. Not that that's necessarily bad, but I could tell who I was talking to. And she was like, I'm sorry, who called in asking about my phone? And how did they get into my account? And how do they know my name? Now, think of how this lady is feeling. Somebody accessed her account, got a name and a number and a social from this lady. And I said, I don't know, ma'am, your phone was reported lost by your husband. And I could almost see a visual of her just leaning back and giving me that classic black woman, oh, really? I'm talking the farthest her hips can reach and her hand making a 90-degree sit on her hip. That's what came to my mind. She said, oh, really? And then, to make a long story short, she's like, thank you, sir, for calling and making sure. Go ahead. And she go ahead, baby. and put this password on the account and put an emphasis on this password has to be stated if you are to access my account. She said, thank you so much. You have no idea how you helped me out. Come to find out, this was her ex-husband, and he was basically been for the last 3 months stalking her. Now here's the thing. This guy didn't evoke. I mean, I'm sitting here, I want to help him. And this is a classic example of people trying to be too good, how that can backfire. Now here I'm going, really trying to help this lady out, thinking I'm doing something good. I was about to do something really bad. What if I had given this guy the actual location, the coordinates of the phone, and told him, it seems to be that your phone is right here, sir. It's at 197 yada yada. And he goes up in there and shoots this chick in the head. Think about it. All because someone like you, and if you're feeling guilty and not agreeing to this statement, it's because it is you've done it, or it is a fact. This woman could be dead. If not for me making that one extra attempt and then understanding the situation. Meanwhile, people criticize the work we do and belittle it. That's a whole other video within itself. But this woman could have died. And that's all because people want to quickly bypass the system, the checks and balances, just to make sure for your sake that people aren't getting information that's not theirs. And I find this amazing in the era of Snowden, who people think is the greatest hero of mankind for some reason. That's a whole other topic within itself. These people want quick access to their information. They want quick access. Quick access to their information. That is why, ladies and gentlemen, we ask you all that information very quickly up front, just to make sure for your own well-being. And we get criticized for it. We get people saying, I'm going to quit your company, yada, yada, which is... that is a video within itself. I'll have to go into details why. That is probably the last thing you ever want to say to any person that's giving you any type of customer service assistance. It's the last thing, because business, economics, like government and society, requires cooperation on both ends of the spectrum. The customer is not always right. And that's the problem with the tech industry in general. The reason why it has lost its respect over time. And it's a problem with many other things in society. It bleeds into everything, and it causes you to understand the entitlement, the self-entitlement many people have over everything. But that's a whole nother video within itself. The main point here, and you need to understand this, we do not want to do that over and over again. I know you think you're the first person to ever call in asking for help, even though we've probably been sitting on the phone for 8 hours. Think about it. And we know you want to get in contact with your family because you're the only person on the planet that has a family. We don't have wives and children. And we know, you're cursing at us and making us feel like a pile of dog, etc., because you're having a problem, because you wouldn't like it, somebody told your wife or your spouse or your child what you're about to tell me, and you'd be willing to fight over it. But you're going to tell me that because you feel self-entitled to say that, forgetting the symbiotic relationship in any government, in any society. And then you wonder why you look at the ranking of education of America in comparison to the world. You have countries that are barely considered first world that are above us. And you have some, if I'm going to have to check the statistics on, but in comparison to a lot of the countries, it doesn't make any sense why they would be more educated than we are. And this right here is the prime example. So you see, that's why we ask you, for your own well-being. And it's amazing, in the age of Snowden, I like to say it, winter is coming. that you have such a great problem with this. People always say they can't stand the automated system. So then you have all these companies then getting rid of the automated system, and then they're talking to people doing the rerouting, because technology is supposed to make things easier and better for that. That in itself is a whole nother segment. That might be like 3 segments within itself. That is what you want to think about when you call in and you have to enter that information again and go over the topic again, because you might say something, call me crazy, but you might say something just slightly different to the right person that might figure out what's going on. One key example, my phone's running slow. Now, think about that. Imagine yourself, your child gets sick. He goes to you, Mommy and Daddy, I don't feel well. You say, what's wrong? My head hurts. It could be so many different reasons why his head is hurting, including you smacking him in it. Now keep in mind, contrary to belief, we're not really supposed to stay on the phone very long. That's a whole nother aspect of this within itself. But imagine your kid coming and saying, my head hurts. Now you have to go through an entire checklist. What were you doing yesterday? Who did you talk to? Where were you staying at? What did you eat? Now, isn't it crazy that we intuitively, subconsciously, is probably the better word, subconsciously, we know intuitively that you need to go through a checklist and do basically divide and conquer so you can quickly get to the root of the problem. Your phone's running slow. What do you mean your phone is running slow? Here, open up this application. Oh, the applications work fine. I thought you said your phone was running slow. Yes, but, and I'm going to use some of their dialect. It's like when I browse a web page, it loads up slow. Oh, you mean your data from your internet is running slow? Yes, and every time I try to connect to it, it doesn't open a web page. Now, some of you think that the answer is solved, but it's not. So was your internet working when you were not at home? Yes. So it's working when you're at home. You see how you start asking these strange, it comes off strange, but it has a point. So the internet is working fine when you're not at home, but when you come home, it isn't working. Are you using Wi-Fi? No, I don't have internet at home. So you don't have an ISP, internet service provider? No, I do not. And I'm sick and tired of all this. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that, ma'am. Is your Wi-Fi turned on your phone? Yes. Go ahead and turn that off for me. Okay. Go to your browser. It's still not working. Oh. And see, this is why I hate the yada, 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 because you guys suck and you need to get trained better, yada, yada, yada. I'm sorry you feel that way, ma'am. Could you do me a favor? Could you restart your phone? I've already done that. Well, fine, I'll do it again. Oh, wow, it's working now. Wow. Thank you, Jesus. You're a saint angel, yada, 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 yada. Now, it took you 20 minutes to do all that. How long is this? This discussion right here is 20 minutes. That is why we ask you all those questions. That's why we go through the process. But these type of situations are self-reflective for the nation, for humanity in many cases, but I will stick to this country. It is the reason why we are in the state that we are in. So going back to the main topic here, the reason for this topic being explained. Why do I have to go through and answer all these questions? Why do I have to restate things again? It is for your security, for solving your problem as quickly as possible, and at least making the attempt to show that we actually give a crap about your issue. Oh, and by the way, we're also human. Thank you.